الحصار عنها.
We now move to East Asia, and foreign ministers from Japan, China and South Korea have met to strengthen cooperation amid rising tensions in the region. The meeting focused on key issues including low birth rates, natural disasters and cultural exchanges. The trilateral talks are seen as a milestone for Japan, which has territorial and historical disputes with both China and South Korea. The ministers also discussed North Korea's missile and nuclear programs, Russia's war on Ukraine and other regional challenges. Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya emphasised the importance of their cooperation for global peace. This meeting paves the way for a trilateral summit later this year. Japan and China will also hold high-level economic talks, marking their first such dialogue since 2019. The growing partnership between Japan and South Korea comes amid shared concerns over China's rising influence in the region. Well, joining us to discuss this talks and the ramifications of it is Dr. Satoru Nagao, fellow at the Hudson Institute, joining us from Tokyo, Japan. Can you first talk to us about the significance of the meeting between these three foreign ministers of some of the most powerful East Asian nations?
The aim of this trilateral meeting is indeed based on old idea. 2 decades ago, China was already being the threat, but not so much like the recent level. So that's why Japan believed if Japan cooperates with South Korea, we can manage the threat of China or influence of China and seek the soft landing with China. That is maybe originally that, but at the same time that caused of the nuclear and also threat, but at the same period threat high. China's threat level is relatively low. So that's why how to deal with North Korea. In this case, China is a master and North Korea is a follower. That's why China's influence is important. Japan and South Korea think that is the reason the talk with China is the solution of the North Korea issue. And the third one is recently the new one, I think, but how to maintain the global free trade regime. That is another aim recently. So that's why this trilateral meeting has happened. So, but indeed, this trilateral meeting has a big gap between these three countries. Three is maybe I choose. Three gap is firstly, perception towards China, rising China is completely different. China thinks this is good, and Japan and South Korea think that this is bad. So, so that's why indeed, if the three countries try to cooperate or try to talk the cooperation, of course, two countries, Japan and South Korea, think that China is a problem. And the second one is about North Korea's nuclear issue. Indeed, there is a gap between Japan and South Korea or China. Japan and South Korea, the North Korea's nuclear program is threat. But North Korea's nuclear weapon is not a threat against China. But China shows influence if North Korea's nuclear program pushed Japan and South Korea to possess a nuclear weapon, which could be the threat against Beijing. So that's why China has the reason. But recently, there is a competition between US and China is increasing the nuclear weapons themselves. That China, it is welcome for China if North Korea increase the nuclear weapon because US nuclear target will be diverse and it is beneficial for China. So that's why there is a gap towards nuclear program of the North Korea in the three countries. So another gap is indeed this year is 18 years anniversary of the World War II. So that's why Japan try to seek we should talk about future, but China want to talk about the history. Japan was wrong and China was a victim. That's why China needs a strong military. That's why they can legitimize the recent military modernization, even if this is too rapid pace. that is beneficial for China. So 18 years anniversary of the end of the World War II is very useful for China, and they try to advertise it.
Yes.
So these three are the big
Sorry to interrupt,
gap.
Dr. Nagao. I want to just pick up on something you mentioned there. You mentioned the US. How do you think Donald Trump and his administration will be viewing this meeting? We know the US is allied with Japan and South Korea, and obviously the ongoing has seen a fractious relationship between the US and China. Also, politically, they stand completely different in their aims and their goals. So what do you think Donald Trump will be waking up to, thinking, looking at this meeting?
Simply said, I do not support this. Talk with China is not beneficial when we talk about Japan and the US cooperation. So that's why this is a little bit too old idea. Managing China's rights by using the trilateral meeting is impossible because China lied too much, and China attitude is too aggressive to deal with under such kind of weak arrangement. So that's why in front of China, of course, Japan should cooperate with the US, South Korea, or Philippines, simply said, and of course India. It simply said anti-China cooperation is more effective when we talk with China. So that's why talk with China and South Korea and trilateral meeting, is it effective? I do not think so. But the current Japanese government, there are some certain groups who support this meeting, that is true. And I have already explained their relatively traditional idea of this framework. These people believe this is right.
Yes, and to bring an end to our discussion, I want to look at a statement that was made at the beginning of the meeting by Takeshi Iwaya, Japan's foreign minister. He said that we could be at a turning point in history given the ongoing situations with war across the world, also the trade war and humanitarian issues. Do you think this could be the start of a new alliance moving forward?
This is not new alliance because China is threat and Japan do not trust China. One of the survey in Japan is clearly indicated. Last one decade, 90% of the Japanese clearly say we do not trust China, and China's image is very bad. So that's why this is common perception in Japan. Japan will not trust China even if we trade with China. So trade is needed under the global free trade regime. So both economies rely on the global free trade. So that's why it is unavoidable to keep trade. Of course, they should decouple. Japan should decouple with China, but not easy in the short time span. This is decouple is the policy in the long run, not short time period. But so that's why the trade they try to talk, but the security Japan do not trust China. So alliance will not happen between three countries.
Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you ever so much as always for your insight. We now